Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of 10 for the Chairman. There's been a bit of a break because I've been over in Europe, mostly doing Squadron 42 stuff, but also stuff to do with our sort of engine and procedural planet stuff over in Germany. And now I'm back in LA for a couple of weeks, enjoying the nice weather here in Santa Monica and being home for a few weeks before heading back in a very short order back to Europe. So anyway, it's good to be here in front of the camera. It's been a while, so hopefully you guys have missed me a bit. We'll see.
I missed you, Chris. I missed you, dude. Alright guys, welcome to whatever this is. I don't have a name for it yet. I'm not even sure how this is going to work. I joined Star Citizen about 5-6 years ago now. Hold on, let me just check that. November 5th, 2021. So pretty much exactly 4 years ago. And every now and again, especially with doing YouTube, you have all these veteran backers that mention things from ages past. And I've always known that there's this video record on the official page. And I've always wanted to dip into it a little bit and just see what it was like and see what sort of things they used to say and things like that. So I just picked a random video and clicked play and hit record. And we're just going to go through this and see what it's like. I'm going to skip bits obviously because Chris talks about coasters and this coffee cup and those badges and stuff for about 5-6 minutes, but then he does 10 for the chairman, which is basically community questions, and I haven't seen this, so like I'm going in blind here. But let me just skip ahead a little bit.
But there you go. So anyway, I was gonna have more cool stuff to show you, but like I said, Aaron stole it. So let's get to the questions and get going from there. Deathstroke asks, we have recently been told that Drake ships do not have ejection seats. Can you settle a big debate? How does this square with the perma-death concepts in Vision and Death?
Okay, wait. We have recently been told that Drake ships do not have ejection seats. Can you settle a big debate? How does this square with perma-death concepts envisioned in Death of a Spaceman? I don't even know what that question means. I've got a rough idea what Death of a Spaceman is, which as far as I can tell is basically wear and tear on your body. You can only get re-sleeved into a new body so many times before that information becomes corrupted or something. I don't know. Doesn't really make much sense, to be honest. But I think the proposal then was that a younger version of you or a relative or something would then take your place in the verse. And you would lose certain things, like maybe some money, maybe some rep, things like that, but you'd have a younger, healthier body. I don't know if there was physical attributes maybe, like you'd be faster again, you wouldn't have creaky old knees and stuff. I don't know if aging was part of that, but that would be kind of cool. Like if you had a character that had survived for quite a long time, they looked a bit more rugged and worn. So I'm wondering what this guy's actual question is then. Are they saying, you've made a ship I can't eject from, that puts me at more risk when permadeath comes in? Let's see what Chris has to say.
To have ejection seats. Can you settle a big debate? How does this square with the perma-death concepts in Vision and Death of a Spaceman? On the Drake side, one of the ideas is the sort of Drake ships are sort of kind of like, we sort of envision them a little like the Russian sort of military hardware where it's like very rugged, it's functional, but doesn't have a lot of extra bells and whistles, say like the US sort of military equipment would do. And so one of the things that generally you wouldn't necessarily get on a Drake ship would be all the extra stuff like the ejection seat, especially in something like the Cutlass, but even more recently the Buccaneer, and that sort of enables them to have deliver value elsewhere, like in better value for your money in terms of the weapons you get for the price and all the rest of the stuff. In terms of Death of a Spaceman, I mean the thing to sort of remember about Death of a Spaceman is that even though, say, you get blown up, like if you're in the ship and it gets blown up, that doesn't mean that you're dead instantly, because the way that sort of we look at the game is that it's sort of lives that you have, right? So you essentially, if you eject, potentially or get an escape pod, you can get out there and you potentially can sort of save your life. But any one of your characters, before you sort of move on to your you have to move, you put your old character away and move on to your new one, which whether it would be a designated next of kin or a whole new character you decide you want to move to.
Fascinating. Right, so that's actually mostly happened then. apart from the life pod thing, right? Ships do go into soft death and stuff, then you get to fly around in 0G, avoiding fires and try and escape. I wonder what the plan is for life pods then. I've never heard anybody explaining to me how that would actually work. Because they're not going to have a quantum drive, right? In fact, they might not even be pilotable at all. They're just a place to be whilst you wait for rescue, I'm guessing. And what will that look like? Will that mean you just float there and then maybe an NPC actually comes along, picks you up and physically takes you to a station? Or is it you've got a life pod, you get in the life pod, it ejects, you float in space for a minute or two maximum, and then you're just teleported to a station? Or, you know, you get the choice, basically. You can maybe get a player to come and pick you up, or you can teleport to a station. That would probably be the best option there, instead of, you know, some complicated thing involving NPCs and stuff like that. Possibly it uses the beacon system in the game. You set up a rescue beacon, it can be answered by anybody, including people with nefarious intent. Yeah, it's an interesting one. You don't hear it spoken about much, actually. You go past those life pods every single day, pretty much. Some of them are built into beds, like the Constellation, I think, is the life pods are the beds, I think. The Warden, or one of the Vanguards. The Vanguard was supposed to be modular at some point. And one of the pods in the middle was a life support room. It could just detach and, you know, you'd be safe in there for a period of time. I'm guessing until you run out of air. I don't know if that's still planned, but I did read that somewhere when I was doing the Vanguard comparison video. Again, there's all these little plans that have just been lost to the mist of time.
In that particular case, you'll have quite a few opportunities. You'll have more than one case where you sort of die, so to speak, in space, and then you'll sort of wake up in the med bay and they've sort of patched you up, and then they'll only be able to do that so many times before obviously your body will sort of give out. And that's kind of the idea of Death of the Spaceman, is it's sort of like taking a little bit of sort of the life mechanic from, you know, the good old days of early game design, and that's sort of about the number of times that you can sort of be brought back by modern sort of medical technology, and then after that you sort of have to, you know, your old character has passed away and you move on to a new character. So obviously it's you know, a little bit more risky in a Drake ship there.
Is that even a good idea though? Like, functionally, what's the point? Is it just to make dying more problematic, I guess? To make death have a worth? It would appear so. That's the only thing I can think of.
And say a ship that has something like an ejection seat. Although, you know, you are able to get out of, whether it's the Cutlass or whether it would be even a Buccaneer, you should be able to get out just like you can get out you know, EVA out of certain ships like the Hornet and stuff. It's just a matter of you may not be able to get out quite as quickly, so you'll just have to be aware of that. But I think the people that fly Drake ships are so good they don't need to always have to eject. Back in World War I, they didn't give you know, some of the airmen parachutes because, you know, they should be so good they didn't need to actually parachute out. And I think that would probably be how I would think of a Drake pilot would think of themselves as.
So that's why we've not got parachutes, right? This is acceptable.
So there you are. I hope that kind of answered the question. But we do definitely want to have this sense of sort of different design criteria between our different ships. And so, you know, some ones have got, you know, more frills and more features, but then they cost more. Some have less, you know, so in some ways could be considered, you know, better value for money or easier to replace or easier to fix, and that would definitely be Drake. All right, next question comes from Aragorn BH, who says, let's say a player locked their ship and left on an EVA or activity which will put them out of sight of their property. Would any kind of notification on their mobiGlas alert them that a pirate was attempting to disable a locked door and loot their ship? Yes, so no, definitely. So we're actually one of the design objectives that people are working on now that we've sort of got persistence in is the whole idea of sort of control, locking, safety on your ship. So, you know, because, you know, right now you can just fly up someone else's ship and open its back door and go inside, which, you know, obviously doesn't make a vast amount of sense, especially when we have sort of persistent ships and there's real value to them.
Absolutely staggering. Oh, it's such a beautiful moment.
So, one of the next stages of stuff will be to sort of put the kind of security systems in place. This partly comes with this item 2.0 stuff that we've talking about, where you can control various items. An item would be a door, an airlock, and you can sort of lock things down, a shutter, or open up for a friend of yours to arrive. And then comes with that is other levels of boarding mechanic, like so how you would break into a ship if you want to get into it and someone's locked it up. So, whether it's like hacking the lock or blowing open a door.
Or punching it a couple of times.
All that is sort of in the early stages of getting fleshed out, and then will get implemented. And of course, part of that would also involve notification to your mobiGlas if you're, say, EVAing up somewhere else, and within, obviously within a reasonable amount of range, it would tell you, hey, look, someone's trying to break into your ship, and you'd have an opportunity to come back and check it out.
Oh my god. Never mind that. I want to hit a button on my mobiGlas that tells the ship to just fly away, or open fire, or electrify the hull. These things ain't cheap, Chris. These things ain't cheap. And as of now, I can do no control over my ship from my mobiGlas. That would be a cool little feature.
So there you go. So what you asked is there. Next question comes from GeForce, who asked, the monthly studio reports have been a fantastic resource for company-wide developments across the spectrum of Star Citizen as a project. Other than persistence and the recent focus on Squadron 42 development, what is the biggest development challenge preventing rudimentary versions of the exploration, cargo, mining, and economy mechanics to be implemented in the PU/PTU builds? And would it be possible to see targeted or focused updates on these specific mechanics in the future? Yes, so these are all things that we're focusing on. So 2.4 has just come out, so that has persistence, which is a pretty big thing, because that just means that the items that you sort of buy or potentially find will stay around, and longer term your health and damage and wear and tear to your items and all the rest of the stuff will also persist, and you can buy and sell things like clothes now, and we're just going to be sort of opening up and expanding more of that. And then the other big thing that we're doing is we're working quite hard on having Stanton system that we're going to put in as a system, of massive scale. So I think the system itself is going to be, in our scaled down version, about 1 billion kilometers across, which is pretty insanely big. And we will be in the not immediate future, but definitely this year, we will have the Stanton system there with procedural planets, and that's kind of one of our focuses. So right now what we're doing is we're focusing on the procedural planet sort of tech and work, and also the fundamental things that we have to do to the underlying engine tech to allow us to simulate a system that is that big. So we're already simulating a pretty massive play area, but the full star system is much bigger than what you get even now in Crusader, and it has vast amounts of sort of objects or entities, if you want to call them. So
So wait, there was a point where you guys never had a solar system. What do you mean? What were you doing here? You did mention Crusader there, so what was it, just like one planet? Like, how did that work? I've heard people saying that something to do with a hangar, you had a hangar at some point, and that was it. So 9 years ago, you guys were just knocking around like a space station or something like that, is that right? That's wild. That's honestly wild. What the hell were you guys up to then? Holy crap, that's actually staggering, like, what they've managed to put into the game.
You probably would have noticed that the performance from 2.3 to 2.4 has degraded a little bit, and that has sort of been an ongoing trend because we've been adding more things in, more AI, more things. So like if you go to Port LSR, you can buy items in the shops, and you also have various pickup rec, like things you can pick up at wrecks around Yeller and all that. And so essentially the core of CryEngine was never built to sort of simulate this many items and objects, and we've had a long-term refactor that we've been working on. The item 2.0 that keeps on getting mentioned is one of the core part of it, but we're basically refactoring the way the whole entity system updates. We're refactoring the fundamental, so we've done a lot of top level changing on top of the Cry network, but it's just not going to be good enough to handle systems this big, and this much data going back and forth. So we've long had a full rewrite of everything in Cride Network on the table, and we've been working on it. And now with what happened and what you could see on 2.4 and the frame rates and everything, it's just clear that we're sort of at the limit of what the current engine will sort of handle without these new systems that we've been working on for quite a while sort of coming online. So the engine...
What an evolution, though. I know it sounds funny and it's hard not to take the piss, right? But hearing about performance issues back then and what the solutions were, and then what they've went and added, and then now that becoming semi-performant in some cases, playable even. And I don't even think it runs on CryEngine anymore, does it? Pretty sure that got switched out. I don't know anything about any of that stuff, that I could just be talking rubbish there. I have heard mention of Lumberyard, I think that's what came after that. Somebody will keep me right below. I do know that whatever they chose to use, it was highly, highly modified, and it's even more modified now. In fact, it's just called STAR-Engine, isn't it? Like, it's pretty much their own thing at this point.
Engineering team on the overall project across all the studios have a good portion of them being what we call ring fenced, and so rather than spending a lot of time iterating, fixing issues or bugs on 2.4 or 2.41 or 2.5, we've been working towards getting everything sort of in place for when we bring out the bigger system and procedural planets, which internally on our release schedule that will be 2.7, but I'm not giving you an exact date on that because as you can see with 2.4, some of the bigger things take longer than some of the more sort of simple content updates. But we're sort of working at pulling all that together, and when that's in place with some of the systems and some of the messaging and organization stuff we've got in work, which is also pretty cool, that longer term we'll be rolling out later this year, that I think will also make the game much better in terms of coordinating with your friends and groups and organizations. We will have the foundation in place to really sort of accelerate on things like sort of the cargo and the mining and going about and sort of hiring other people to escort you or defend you or take someone out. So that's all sort of working at pace, and then in sort of the short term we're sort of working at sort of adding some content in terms of some new locations. So in the next big drop we have, we're going to have a separate area that when you're an outlaw or someone on the wrong side of the law, you have your own place that you spawn, and so it's almost like we're going to have two factions in the 2.5 release, which is the sort of outlaw base, and then Port Olisar will be the two main spawning places, and we're going to start to sort of build that up, and there's some extra stuff that gets added there, and we're going to have some other gameplay that rolls out that's on the sort of kind of smaller side, but then the huge sort of system expansion starts with 2.7. Won't have all the locations because there's a lot of stuff to be there, but everything will be sort of in placeholder set up in 2.7, and then we start working at like fleshing and finishing out Stanton systems. So that's our goal. Our goal is to get the Stanton system fleshed out to the fidelity that we want in Star Citizen for playing the game with the way we imagine it, at the amount of like insane detail you can go from, basically it's that pupil to planet detail where you can get right down there and you're walking around on this huge planet and the detail on the ground is like something I promise you it's something you have not seen on a proper fully procedural planet that's fully like a proper sphere. Like you'll see the planet, you keep going, it's all completely seamless. You get down, you get right down, you get down and see the little rocks on the ground. And I haven't seen anyone else be able to do that, so we are going to do that. That's going to be very cool. I think you guys will like it.
And he did. He did pull that off. So what was the outlaw base? Did that end up being Grim Hex then? Or was that just something else entirely? But I mean, the man's got vision. I'll give him that. He's not looking to make small things.
Like it. So that's coming on down the road again.
And look, you can see the little gleam in his eyes. He's talking about it as well. Like the orbit to surface and down to the rocks. Like he's excited. He's in. He's into this. Like you have to keep in mind, since I started playing, we've hardly seen this guy. He's been on stage like a couple of times. You guys got this enthusiasm like all the time on these shows, and there was always a lot of back and forth with the big man himself.
Can't really give exact dates because some of these things take longer than we would all like. But this year is the plan, so stay tuned, and that's another reason to come to Gamescom, because we may have some stuff to show. Next question comes from Fireball, who asks, the E3 Expo has just wrapped up. Did you see anything that made you say, wow? What do you think of how big space games are now? Well, it's actually kind of cool, because there's loads of space games now. I never knew everyone wanted to do space games as much as they seem to do now, and so it's kind of fun, because when I started this, and when we did the crowdfunding campaign for Star Citizen, everyone said no one wants space games, and now you're seeing it all the way up to the biggest mainstream titles, like Call of Duty, Infinite Warfare, and generally the new Mass Effect stuff look cool. I always like the Mass Effect. The other thing I saw, which isn't sci-fi, but Battlefield 1 looked very cool to me, because I like World War I, so I'm kind of partial to World War I and things like the Red Baron, and so it was kind of cool to see that. So I'm sure I'll play it, because I'm kind of a bit of a Battlefield fan. I think you guys.
So that's why our ships are so slow. I've heard people say this a few times. They want that fighter plane dogfighting cinematic thing going on.
We'll be seeing some stuff from us on the FPS stuff in the not too distant future, and I think you'll like it, because there's some stuff we haven't shown or shared where we've made some really nice breakthroughs in how our FPS sort of movement and mechanics work, and it's playing really, really nice and smooth internally. So we're going to figure out a way to get you guys that to just sort of be able to play that and have fun with it. So you never know, that long-rumored dead thing may appear again. We'll see. On to...
Yeah, the FPS thing's quite funny, to be honest, because that is just not smooth at all, and it has such amazing potential. Everything's so chunky and sounds great. It's realistic, and it's mostly like desync things that are the bulk of the problem. Oh, this one will be good.
To the next thing from Liowin, who asked, I feel it's some time ago now since we last heard about Nyx. Back then it sounded like it was very close to being finished. Is Nyx still in the works? And if so, when will we see it? Aha, well, that's a good question. So,
that is a good question.
You are definitely going to see Nyx. We are going to put it in the short term in the Stanton system, so you will see the landing environments like Nyx all debuting with the procedural planet sort of iteration of Stanton. So that's kind of what we've been working on, which is one of the reasons why you haven't really seen much updates. The landing area and the environment is done, but now it's all about integrating into the big, huge star system, and the whole, how it gets integrated into the planetary tech, and how that streams in as you arrive to it, so it's all seamless, there's no loading screens. So we're all actually quite hard at work doing that. So I think that's what you'll be seeing when you'll basically see Nyx with 2.7.
Now, what I think he means there is Levski. And I've no idea on the time frame of these things, but I think they put Levski into Stanton originally. And if you didn't know, it was there for a while, years possibly, before they took it out again and moved it to Nyx, the solar system Nyx. But that was before my time. I never set foot on Levski when it was in Stanton. I just seen it on old videos one day and was like, where the hell's this place? Where's this place? They're like, yeah, they took it out. And it's one of those things that, it's good to be part of the journey, because you see things that you'll never see in the finished result. People might never see Port Olisar, never witness stepping out onto that open platform above Crusader. And that's a real pity, that, because it was, it had its own magic, that place. And there's probably hundreds of things like that. Not just places, but just periods in the game's history when something was a thing. Maybe it's a gold rush or something that you remember. Like, remember when Pyro first opened up, there was those salvage missions with all the ships spawning, they were full of loot and you could go, and there was loads of PvP and stuff like that. It was absolutely great. Such a good time. Still no idea where it went. It was fantastic. Just one of those fun detected moments. Oh, we're taking that away. They spawned around Gaslight. Fly over, loot the derelict ships, try and get away before somebody else appeared. Somebody had to pay for the mission. It was like, you know, a 200,000 pay-in. There was just loads of people waiting on somebody else paying that price. And then this big chaotic ball of PvP would kick off, and be guys sneaking in, and some of the ships would still work, and you'd get them started and just fly off. If a laser even looked at you, that ship was blowing up. That's how damaged it was. And there'll be loads of little things like that. And I'm never sure, like, if I would prefer to have never played the game and just sit down at 1.0 when everything supposedly works and just see everything for the first time. Explore down those back alleys in Area 18 and find what's her face. Just see the whole game for the first time versus being along for the journey. Because they definitely both have significant upsides.
Then we'll just carry on to expand beyond that. You know, we won't have ArcCorp in with 2.7, but you know, not too far past that. Then you'll actually have ArcCorp that you'll go and land on the planet in the system, not have to go to a separate load screen. So the whole goal is to get to, you just enter the PU or the mini PU and you fly around between landing locations, whether they're on planets, whether they're space stations, and you do your missions, you trade, you make some money, grade your ship, and you know that's the core game loop, of course, that you know we've talked about with Star Citizen, and so we're working towards that all sort of coming together by the end of this year. Okay, next question comes from Fonkin, who asks, I've been playing in the PTU and it's really exciting to see things come together. Cool, thank you. Yes, it's actually kind of very cool to see a lot of videos that people post and see the various amounts of play they do, and you know, I just have impatience because I know there's a lot of other stuff that we have in the works that will make all that much better. I'm wondering if the Hangar module and the Universe module will be combined to be more immersive. In other words, when I walk out of my Revel and York hangar and find myself in a spaceport such as Al-Asar, where I can then requisition a ship to fly. Yes, that is 100% our goal. So for me, I talked a little earlier in the show, but for me, the goal is to get the game to the point.
So wait, you guys actually did just have a hangar? Yous were just knocking around in hangars? And did you have ships? Like, what did you do in there? Apart from have a jukebox that maybe worked. I don't know if it worked. Did it work? Did the jukebox ever work? I have so many questions.
Which I'm very confident we can do this year, where we're not going to a Hangar module or we're not going to ArcCorp as a separate module. It's all just one that we go between these different locations all in the universe. So you know, the setup may be slightly different than it is right now in the Hangar module that you have, but it's already changed with 2.4 with the sort of integration of persistence, because we don't have the same dynamic hangars that we used to. So that's all going to sort of change. But yeah, our goal is to sort of you know, be able to have a hangar on a landing location, and you can go down and visit it, and then call up your ship to be on the landing pad, or perhaps the door of your hangar opens up and you fly out into the universe. So that is definitely on our plans and goals. Okay, all right, last question comes from Vacation, who asks, the Vanduul harvesters look quite menacing, and I was wondering, what is their planned role in the verse since planetary landings has entered the picture? Well, the Vanduul harvesters in the fiction and sort of Squadron 42 in episode 2 or so, they make more of a appearance, but you know, they essentially...
What? Did he just say episode 2? Did he just say the harvesters make more of an appearance in episode 2 of Squadron 42? Wait, you guys knew about this? We're waiting for them to finish Squadron so that they could come and finish Star Citizen, and the whole time there's been Squadron 42 2 planned, and you guys never told us. I feel genuinely let down right now by you guys. All you old guys, all you vets. What happened there? This is the first of me hearing about this. Squadron 42 2. Are you taking the piss, bruv? You cannot be serious, right? Look at his face. He's surprised that I'm surprised. What?
I mean, the Vanduul go from world to world, and you know, they don't necessarily sort of build as much as take. So the harvesters are sort of harvesting resources from the worlds they're sort of conquering or destroying, and that's sort of turned into the, you know, utilized by the Vandul war machine to make their fleet bigger and make their fleet stronger.
The Vanduul harvester. Vanduul mining ship sounds pretty mad, I'm not gonna lie. That is something I would very much like to see. Again, you guys, you have been sitting on all this information. You're keeping it from us. You're gatekeeping all the good shit.
So we definitely will probably have them appearing, and obviously Vandal appearing in the bigger Star Citizen when we get to the sort of worlds that the Vandal are kind of, or the systems that the Vandal are present in or are threatening. And planetary landings and procedural planets are a big part of the game, and they actually will also be part of Squadron 42. So we're planning and utilizing the technology not just in Star Citizen but in Squadron 42 for some of the locations you'll visit, just because the idea of sort of seamless flying around from, you can see off in the distance a little dot, and then you fly up to it and it turns into a moon, and you can fly down onto it and go right down to a gas refining facility and then fight pirates there, or whatever you will be doing. It's amazing just to have that sense of scale and scope, but then get in close and it's all there, and there's no tricks where there's a loading screen or there's suddenly clouds in your way and then all of a sudden we've streamed in a new level. None of that. It's all there. It's all there in one coherent world, all in the same sort of 64-bit vector space. And the planets or the planetoids, because obviously we use it also for moons or whatever. If I can see it here, I can land here, and the gravity works all the way around it, and you could literally walk all the way around the planet or fly all the way around it. And so with all ground vehicles or
I can see 100% why you guys bought in. Like 100%. He is into this. Like, he believes, guys. There's just an undeniable enthusiasm there. I'm glad it worked out for him, to be honest. Couldn't have worked out better, in fact.
We're just announced and did this Dragonfly sail, which is also sort of a space bike, but also a ground bike, and it's good for zipping around there. And it's going to be super cool. So we're going to be using that for everything, including Squadron 42. And in the PU, I would say that the big difference between what I was thinking that we were going to do a few years ago and what we can do now is there's going to be so much more gameplay and content in individual systems, because we can literally have every moon and every planet be something you can fly to, land on, walk around, move around, mine things on, search for things, rescue people on, get jumped by pirates on. So there's not just potential for missions spawning in space. There's potential for all sorts of kind of missions to spawn down on planets, just like there'll be missions that could spawn on space stations, or missions spawning on sort of space wrecks hanging out in asteroid fields. And so the amount of sort of gameplay that's opened up in the same area that we have is like, it's exponentially more gameplay, and it's really, really, really cool. And the Vandal Harvesters could be just part of that. All right, that is the last of the 10 questions in 10 for the chairman.
That was just awesome. That's fascinating to watch for me. Just fascinating. I mean, he reached for the stars and freaking grabbed them, basically. Fair play to the guy. Yeah, we should do more of these. I want to see more now. If you'd be up for that, let me know. It's kind of nice and chill. It's easy for me to produce and stick out there. Keeps engagement going whilst I'm working on a bigger video in the background. But yeah, hopefully you found that interesting. If you've got specific episodes, if any of you guys know specific things that would be fun to watch, just send me the link. Because it's kind of funny and it's kind of fascinating at the same time. There's a lot of things being learned by hindsight and trial and error and stuff like that, so I'm not here to just rip into the claims or some of the claims that have been made and maybe turned out didn't true. That's not what this is about. It's just about history and perspective and trying to just get a deeper understanding of where this game arose from, how it became this massive, crazy, crazy project. Before I go, remember Game Glass is doing a thing, 20% off for both the normal subscription and the lifetime pass. They're also doing a giveaway where you can win a big, massive Star Citizen pack thing. It's got like 3 ships in it, or 2 ships in a vehicle. I think it was the Clipper and the MDC and something else. Links will be below, guys. Thanks for tuning in if you did. Appreciate you guys, like 2,000. Take care of yourself out there. 07.
Slowly coming together. I wish it was coming together a bit faster, but it's great, and we won't be able to do it without all your guys' support. So thank you very much for backing us. It's amazing to be here almost 4 years on, building something that I don't think anyone could ever have dreamed could happen or be built at this scale. I don't think there's any publisher out there that would fund something this crazy or this ambitious, and you guys have, so thank you very much.